Totems are now here in War and Order, and there is a lot to take in, from how you even unlock these and what they actually do for you. So stick around in this video for everything I've figured out so far about how totems work in War and Order. Hello my friends and welcome back. I'm Chisgule Gaming, and this video is sponsored by the makers of War and Order. And today I just want to give you an overview of how totems work, which become available to you, by the way, when I believe your castle reaches level 26. There will be the Oracle Square visible near your city wall, and there are two areas that you can go and get a look at. Before I dive deep on this though, let me just tell you that totems are kind of like your beast. You can upgrade them, you can enhance them, they give your army buffs, but unlike your beast, which has a limited amount of energy and is limited to the number of times you could run it out of your city until you're out of stamina, the totems have no limit on their stamina. There is no stamina at all. So you can always run a totem with a march when you're leaving your city. They will not participate in the defense of your city. So with that said, unlike the beast, your totems actually require you to deploy artifacts in order to make them active. So there are a total of 7 totems visible along the bottom here. They are color-coded based on their sort of rarity, or I'll loosely say power level, but they do require more and more rare materials when you go from blue to what I'll call epic and then legendary all the way in the bottom right. So you have to actually deploy artifacts. You can see this totem is usable because I have 2 artifacts deployed to it. Now there's more to it than just putting artifacts there. And I do want to mention that when you put an artifact here, your artifact can't also be in your array. So it's either here or it's in your array or it's on the bench, but it can't also be in your array at the same time that you have it here. Now, when you look at the more rare totems, and these totems have different effects, by the way, I'm going to talk about that. This actually takes more artifacts. You can have 3. In fact, you have to have 3. And all the way up here, you also need to have 3. I will point out that for, I think, this tier of rarity, you have to have legendaries that go in, okay? Whereas the epic one, you could use epic tier or purple grade or higher, right? So I have a lot more options for what artifacts I can set. And over here, it's blue or higher. Just think of this as a way to deploy your unused artifacts for extra stats. Now, weirdly, the extra stats you get are unrelated to the artifact you've chosen. No, instead, when you tap into the artifact now, there is a totem force menu, and there is a currency over here that you will collect. We'll talk about how you get that, in order to actually increase the sort of power level or the buffs that you get from your totem. So, to summarize where we're at so far, totems give buffs. They give buffs by actually leaving your city with your army to fight with you when you select it. You can only have 1 totem with you per army that leaves your city. And the buffs that you get depend on, in part, the totem force that you have activated. So, you have to actually go in order of the sort of line you see on the screen. I'll tap the order just so you can sort of see that a little more clearly. You have to max the previous in order to invest in the next. So you got to get 3 out of 3 in each and every one of these. And at this point, the next buff that's available to me is cavalry hit points. Now I'll pump the brakes here because I don't particularly care about cavalry hit points. I'm an inf mage player, so it's basically worthless to me to get cav points. But in order to actually progress, I'm going to have to invest in that. Now, what's interesting is that there are different trees for the 2 artifacts that have been put in here, the left artifact and the right artifact. I don't think it matters what artifact is in there. I think all that matters is that one is there, and then you can have access to this tree. So this tree has different stuff in it, which is kind of interesting. So I've got mage hit points over here. These are, again, different trees assigned to each artifact, and all of the buffs in total apply when you put this totem with your army, okay? Following me so far? I can tap the stats overview to see all the buffs my army is getting when I run this totem with my army. Okay, if you're following that so far, I want to add a little more complexity, which is that You can just put any old artifact in here, but at some point, the star levels of your artifacts will matter. If I tap in once again to this particular artifact, you can see that there is a second string or chain of abilities that you can unlock with Totem Force, but these have special unlock conditions. So once the current Totem Force level is 24, that's 24 points applied here, I can unlock this, and I also have to have, by the way, a 1-star or better artifact. Well, 1-star, obviously very easy, right? But I assume that as this thing grows, perhaps more star requirement is required for other things. For example, this requires 2 stars, this particular thing, right? So once you reach the required level, I guess you may not even need to put anything into it to just get the benefit. So the advantage of kind of focusing on one of these is that it looks like just once you fulfill the requirements, you automatically start to get this boost, which is pretty cool. On the flip side of things, the cost, as I think I was describing earlier, gets more and more and more expensive to put more levels into this as you go. So originally it was like 50 currency per level. Now it's 195 per level in order to work on this particular artifact and the Totem Force level of the artifact. And I showed earlier how these are 2 distinct trees here. I don't know what the relationship is between the cost as you work on the 2 trees separately, but you can see here the cost is lower in this other tree than it is in the previous one where I've done a bit more work. Wow. Okay, so that's all a lot to take in, but I'm not done yet because there is more to getting the buffs from a particular totem. Because you can see in the center of the screen, this totem is not awakened. Now, not awakened doesn't mean you can't use it. You can still use it, and you still get all the buffs that you see here. And I went and I tested that, by the way, and just to prove it to you, allow me to show you that if I go, in fact, let me just make it really clear. The stats overview here, you can see that I'm getting Archer hit points by 1.8%. Okay? Archer HP, 1.8%. Here are 2 reports that I did back to back, just about. One with the totem active, one with the totem not active. When the totem was not active, I had a grand total of Archer hit points equal to 74%. Okay. Then I went in, and we can see that it was right here, 74%. Okay. Then I went and I brought a totem. All right. Totem's here, fertility totem. We know I should have 1.8% extra Archer hit points. We go to the technology bonus here. Scroll it way down. Archer hit points, boom, up by 1.8%. So even if the totem's not awakened, you still get the benefit of the Totem Force as long as you bring the totem with you. Okay, now, awakening. When I tap that in the sort of center of the screen there, I have some options here. The Fertility Blessing is currently level 0 of 1. Now, if I tap the information button here, it says the skill level limit needs to unlock according to the progress of the Totem Force's total level. Skill effects have the corresponding levels take effect in battle according to the Totem Force's level currently in effect. Okay, that is the word effect a lot, but I think the point here is that as your Totem Force levels up, this becomes available to you. So if we get a look here at the skill effect, when at the start of the battle, the Spirit of Fertility will send blessings, increasing the hit points of the infantry and cavalry by 2%. Okay, hit points of infantry and cavalry by 2% is that same thing we saw over here. Infantry and cavalry hit point boost. If I look over here, we see the same thing. Infantry and cavalry hit point boost. Now, this is level 3 of 24. It is not activated yet. So I'm a little confused and still sorting out exactly how the whole system works, but I will say that what is clear here is that at skill level 6, you then get an additional boost. Also reduce the damage taken by infantry and cavalry. Now, if I hit the max level preview, the absolute max level here is 15% hit points for infantry and cavalry, and also reducing damage taken by infantry and cavalry by 4%. Now, there is an additional currency here needed for awakening, and I'll show you again in just a minute how to get this. Because I haven't done this yet, I'm not entirely sure how this awakening level works, if this is like a one-time use to actually get the awakening, or if I'll have to do this multiple times to try to get multiple levels of the awakening, and that's how I level this up. But again, if we look here at what it says, the skill effects of the corresponding level take effect in battle according to the totem force's current level. So with a totem force level of 6, well, I have more than 6, I get 1 skill level. And the maximum is a level of 96 totem force level, giving me level 10 of this overall. Now, if we just get a look here, and I remove the sort of max level showing, one other thing that we can look at to get more information about how this works is in the upper right. It says that the totem skills awakening and increasing the max levels are all determined according to the progress of the totem force total level. Setting artifacts doesn't have a star level requirement, but having extra stars could be relevant for some of the buffs that you get. Using psionic tattoos increases the skill level. Complete oracle quests to get psionic tattoo items. Totem skill effects have no effect on beasts. When the target isn't soldiers or angels, the effect will be reduced. So I guess if you just run a beast. When I tap the little up arrow over here, it says the Spirit of Fertility's blessing will additionally increase the hit points of my lords, infantry and cavalry by 2%. Totem skill level reaches 7. Okay, so my totem skill level at the moment should be more than 1. In fact, if we just back out here, I wonder where it says what my totem skill level is. Maybe I need to use psionic tattoos to get my totem skill level up, but the totem force level is at level 12, and it shows that in the upper right. Wow, okay. So if you're following along so far, you may be wondering, okay, so the bottom line here is I need more of these items, right? And the answer is kind of yes. You can get them from packs, which is what I did, or you can do oracle quests to get them, and presumably there's going to be some big event that comes up where presumably we can do some amount of spending as well to get a bunch of these things, although there is a bundle you can get that refreshes, looks like every 3 days is the cycle for that, to get more of these items over here. And you will note that for the epic tier, there is an epic quality item that you need here, and that's at the legendary tier, there is a legendary quality item required. There is actually no way to get this from spending right now, so you have to get it from either quests or events. So let's talk about how you actually work on some of these buffs, because at the end of the day, we'll figure out exactly how they work as we go. I think I've got the majority of the system sorted out, but you have to be doing these quests every single day. And the quests are available in that Oracle quest section. And essentially, you just tap these, time elapses, and then you get stuff. So this is a normal quality quest. It takes 1.5 hours, and I get 10 of the blue runestones and some Oracle experience. The runestones are what you need to actually upgrade your totem force. The Oracle experience is just used to level up your sort of Oracle questing level. The higher your Oracle questing level is, the better quests you get and the more refreshes you can get on quests. I'm out of refreshes. So if I wanted to refresh this, which I do, I would spend 100 gems. And what do I get? I got 1 green quality quest to do and 2, I guess 3 of the white quality. And you can see the rewards here are better. I get a psionic tattoo and 5 extra blue runestones for the more rare quest. I'm going to hit start on that. And every time I get one of these quests done, my experience level goes up. Now, if I tap the info button, you can see that as my Oracle level increases, I can get access to more and more rare quests to do. So it looks like there's a blue quality of rarity of quest that shows up once I get to level 6. When I get to level 7, the percent balance increases in my favor of getting more rare quests. When I get to 8, that is also true. When I get to 9, there's a 5% chance of an epic quality quest. And you get to 10, and there is a slight boost in the ratio of green to blue quests. In addition, there's also rewards you get for doing quests throughout the week. You get more quest attempts per day by virtue of leveling up your Oracle level. You get more refreshes and available queues as you go as well. So at the start, I think I had 1 queue. I could do 1 quest at a time. Very quickly, I moved to being able to do 2 quests at a time. Realistically, you just got to check into the game a couple times a day, and you can get these all done which you should be doing anyways because you play this game seriously, or seriously enough, right? Now, there are weekly rewards, as I described, so do your Oracle quests, get those rewards. You need to have a higher Oracle level, it looks like, to even have access to some of these quests. And what is this? Superior Oracle chest. That's kind of cool. And it looks like there's even an Oracle level 14. So presumably there are a lot of Oracle levels beyond even what the info button is showing me. And you can break down materials, as if this wasn't enough to take in already. You can break down materials that you theoretically don't want, drop them into the shop, and trade in for other stuff. Now, this is a lot of stuff to take in all at once, and it feels pretty complicated when you're looking at it for the first time, which is why it took me actually a non-trivial amount of time to sit down, sort all this stuff out, and put together a video about all this. But very simply, you do Oracle quests to get currency. You use that currency on a totem. You do that by deploying an artifact and then using the currency you got to get some extra buffs in the totem force. The more totem force you have, the more buffs you have access to, as long as you bring that totem with you when you leave your city. And you can see here, if I go and I select something to fight, when I go to do that, I hit attack, I can select my totem. And that's really it. It's extra buffs. You get them by doing quests, and you get them by deploying artifacts that you weren't using somewhere else and you didn't need for other reasons to be in your array. And there's assuredly more to this that I haven't figured out yet because I haven't actually awakened one of these things, and some of this I'm still kind of sorting out and learning and understanding. So if there's stuff that I missed, and assuredly there is, definitely leave a comment down below. I'm eager for more information. And also, I see, by the way, there's a out of 60 marker here. So 9 out of 60, I have deployed 9 levels here for the totem force, but I don't know what the out of 60 is. Am I capped to 60 levels worth of totem force on this for some reason? Do I have to do something to get more levels of totem force available to me? Will I not be able to put more in? Is that done by virtue of this level up process? Is that what I need to be doing? I don't exactly know because I haven't hit that wall yet, but presumably I will, so subscribe so you don't miss when I walk through how that works once I've bumped into that particular wall. Now, in terms of which of these totems you ultimately choose, there is a lot to talk about, man. I thought I was almost done with the video, but not true. Just look at what the sort of awakening skills are, and then choose, like, which do you think is most interesting to your army? And I will point out that when I look at these, one of the most compelling totems is the Order totem. The effect here is that the Spirit of Order will launch the guard for one allied troop 9 seconds after the battle starts, priority to the front row, taking its place to absorb 50% of damage taken. Every time it can absorb damage up to the total battle power of my lord's current troops. The effect disappears after the troops die. So, front row tankiness buff seems really killer to me. And if we just look at the max level here, this does work every 9 seconds. It's a huge multiplier over here for the amount of shielding. And there is even effect after the Spirit of Order dies, reduces the damage taken by one of your troops randomly, priority of the front row by 12% for 10 seconds. In order to really understand how these perform, honestly, I'm going to want to have to get my hands on them and do some testing and see like which one actually does the best for me. And there is a cooldown on how often you can do a reset here. If you want to go and reset your totem, which I'll actually select one here, you get your items back, but it takes a 7-day cooldown before you can do this operation again. So I went and I have made my investments here. If for some reason I later decide that this fertility totem is just not for me and I'm going to upgrade to like this over here, I can always reset it. I can dish the items back out in the Oracle Quest Breakdown section to like buy something else from the shop if I wanted a different item. So I'm not too worried for now about just making some initial investments in a totem quickly because I think you can get your stuff back. Wow. If you enjoyed this video or found it helpful, do me a huge favor, throw a like on here and consider subscribing. This has been a pretty intense undertaking to try to unpack everything with how totems work. And until next time, you have fun smashing your enemies. Leave your thoughts and comments down below. I am looking for your guidance on which totems are best, how they work, and more.